everyone. You're all very welcome to the Burren Wintrage Weekend and this evening's storytelling and quiz event as part of the festival. My name is Pranjali and I work with Burren Trust. And Burren Trust is a charity that organizes this annual event to celebrate farming for nature in the Burren and beyond. So we are very happy to have you all here for this event. So what does Wintrage mean? We have the perfect person to answer this question for us tonight. I'm joined by Shane Casey, who is a farmer from Fanor in County Clare, and he's also a children's author. And Kate Lavender from Burren Trust is also here, who's going to be doing a quiz for us little later. So Shane has just published a new book called The Calf and the Cuckoo, which tells the story of Wintrage from the point of view of a calf. So this book is illustrated by wildlife artist Gordon Darcy, who is another big supporter of the trust. And both Shane and Gordon are generously donating all the proceeds from the sale of this book for Burren Trust. So if you like the book that you're going to listen to today, and if you would like to get a copy, you can go to the Burren BO's website, burrenbo.com, and go to the online shop. And you'll see the book there. It's available to buy, to order anywhere in UK and Ireland with free delivery for €14 only. Shane, thank you so much for joining us today. You have written several wildlife books for children before, but this is a different book. Can you tell us a little bit more?
I can, certainly. Thank you very much for having me. First of all, our previous books were very much about wildlife adventure, so animals and creatures that you find in your own back garden, local school grounds or local park and so on. And they're very much stories that I created and then did a little bit of research in terms of the animals, their characteristics, their behaviours, and kind of created a story. Whereas this one is, it feels a bit more like a personal experience growing up on a farm in Fanor in Blackhead, and a lot of the features of the story that I'm going to read in a few moments kind of come from first-hand experience of seeing that. And I actually have a few photographs from home that I'm going to share with you now, just so you get an idea of, I suppose, my own childhood growing up in Fanor. So we're going to share a screen for a moment, and hopefully this works. You can see that?
Yeah, perfectly.
Great. Well, at home in Fanor, we had a bit of everything on our farm growing up. So we had cows and calves, mainly short-horn cows and Shirley bulls or Shirley cross calves. We had lambs, ewes. These are some Galway sheep, or a rare breed that are native to Galway. We had horses, we had lots of horses. We had ponies, donkeys, hens, ducks, pigs, even a few goats. So we had a bit of a mix of everything there, really. But like every farmer across the Burren, around this time of the year, we bring our cattle up to the top of the mountain Blackhead, up to the Wintrage, and we'll be doing it this weekend as well on Sunday as part of the cattle drive. And hopefully, if technology allows us, we'll be able to broadcast some of that as part of the Wintrage Festival on Sunday. But this has been a bit sport for farming and the cattle, but also for nature. When we bring the animals up during the winter time, there's a lot of grazing up on the mountain at this time of the year. It's slightly warmer because the limestone pavements act as a kind of a storage heater, and it's a few degrees warmer. And it's also much better for the cows because they're out all winter rather than inside in a shed. So that's the benefits to the farmer and the cows, but it also obviously has benefits to nature and the flowers. Because by doing this, the cattle graze back kind of stronger grasses during the winter time. This allows light to get into the flowers during the summertime, and allows the famous Burren flowers to grow, the gentians, the orchids, the mountain avens, and so on. And when we take the animals back off the mountain around March and April, when they have young calves, at home we bring them into the Cahir Valley, where there's a kind of improved agricultural grasslands, and because they're so fit and healthy coming off the mountain, they just thrive when they get onto the green grass. So it's good for the farmer, good for cows, and good for nature. The other side of this, though, is that the cows never really get a chance to see the flowers because they're on the Burren, the Blackhead, the Wintrage at 2 different times of the year. The cows are up there during the winter time, the flowers are up there during the summertime. And that's kind of the background to the story that I'm going to read for you now in a few moments. But that's kind of my background growing up in Fanor and Blackhead.
Shane's family, the Casey family in Fanor, are also the featured family this year for leading the cattle drive, which is a flagship event of our Wintrage weekend. And unfortunately, it's closed to the public this year because of the level 5 restrictions. But hopefully, we are still going to try and broadcast Shane and his cattle going up the mountains on Sunday. So Shane, we're happy to let you read the story now. Looking forward to it.
Yes, hope you enjoyed. So I'm going to share my screen again, and now hope you be able to see that.
Yeah, looking good. Yeah.
Great stuff. Okay. The Calf and the Cuckoo. It was a mild March night in the Burren, and something special was happening. The moon and stars looked down in anticipation. The waves rose silently along the shoreline, and the wind held its breath. In the darkness, a baby was born, a little calf called Sarah. The first thing Sarah heard was her mother's gentle lowing as she licked Sarah dry. It made Sarah feel safe. Her mother's coarse tongue was like a hairbrush tugging at Sarah's tangled red hair. It tickled when her mother licked around her ears. But they couldn't see each other properly until the morning sun had crept over the mountain at Blackhead. Then, as the sky changed from black to blue, Sarah was left staring into her mother's big kind eyes. Sarah's mother was a beautiful red shorthorn cow with a white star on her forehead, and Sarah looked just like her. Sarah's first day on the Burren was spent snoozing. In the afternoon, they had a visitor, Sarah's farmer. He had come to check up on them and brought some fresh hay for Sarah's mother. Sarah had never seen hay before, so she gave it a little sniff. The smell of last year's summer sunshine filled Sarah's nostrils and made her sneeze. Of course, Sarah wasn't the only calf on the farm. There were lots of others, and over the next few days, Sarah and her mother joined the rest of the herd. The cows spent their days grazing on the tufts of old grass that grew between the limestone pavements, while the calves played chase. Every day, Sarah's farmer would come to check that all the young calves were okay. Sarah loved her farmer. He always had a kind word for her. The cows loved their farmer too, because he always brought them some hay. Sarah was an inquisitive young calf. She loved to explore the old ruins that were scattered all around Blackhead, the little stone huts and the cairns. They'd been built by farmers who came to the Burren many, many years ago. Sarah tried to imagine what those first farmers were like. She wondered if they'd been as nice as her farmer. A few weeks after Sarah was born, it was time for the herd to move across to the Cahir Valley. Sarah's mother and all the other cows couldn't wait to get there. You see, the valley is very different to Blackhead. It is a little river running through it, with fields full of lush green grass on either side. Well, after eating nothing but faded vegetation all winter, the cows gobbled up the grass like there's no tomorrow. Even Sarah began to nibble at the grass. It was soft, sweet, and peppered with daisies, and she loved it. Now, most of the other calves had a typical summer in the valley, eating grass, playing games, and basking in the sunshine. But not Sarah. One day, in early May, something quite unexpected happened to Sarah. She was ambling towards the river when she heard a funny noise. "Cuckoo!" it called. "Cuckoo!" Sarah looked around her to see where the noise had come from. "Cuckoo!" it called again. "Cuckoo!" Then she saw him, sitting on the little wall that ran along the riverbank. He was nearly as grey as the stone he was sitting on, with amber rings around his eyes. His wings hung low by his side, and his tail stood erect. "Who are you?" asked Sarah. "Colin," came the reply. Colin, of course, was a cuckoo. Colin had come all the way from southern Africa. "What brings you here?" asked Sarah. "Oh, I come to the burn every year to see the flowers." "The flowers!" exclaimed Sarah, as she looked down at the daisies by her feet. "That's a long way to come to see a few daisies." Colin gave her a confused look. "I don't come for the daisies," he replied. "I come for the burn flowers." "What do you mean?" asked Sarah. "I mean the flowers that the burn is famous for. The gentians, the orchids, and the mountain avens." Now it was Sarah's turn to be confused. Sarah had never seen any of these flowers, and she lived on the burn. "So where are they hiding?" asked Sarah. "They're not hiding," replied Colin. "I've just come from Blackhead, and they're everywhere." Now, Sarah was born at Blackhead, and she had never seen any burn flowers there. But before Sarah had a chance to find out more, she heard her mother calling her. Sarah said goodbye to Colin, but she couldn't stop thinking about what he had told her. That evening, when the herd had settled down to rest, Sarah asked her mother about the burn flowers. "The burn what?" her mother asked. "The burn flowers," answered Sarah, and then she told her mother all about Colin. "Sarah dear," replied her mother, "I've lived my entire life in the burn, and I've never seen or heard of these burn flowers. The cuckoo must have been mistaken." That night, Sarah tossed and turned, but she couldn't sleep a wink. She believed her mother, of course, but she also wanted to believe Colin. Was there any way that they could both be right? Sarah had to find out. So later that night, she decided to do something very naughty. She snuck out of her field and set off for Blackhead. It was a bright night in the burn. The moon was full, and the tiny fossils in the limestone had come to life with its reflection. They lit up a path that had been forged by cattle over thousands of years and brought Sarah on the safest route to the rocky landscape. Then, just as the sun was waking up, she finally reached the top of Blackhead Mountain. Down below her, she could see Galway Bay shimmering in the morning light. But as the sun peeled away the shadows from Blackhead, Sarah's eyes opened wide in amazement. This was not the Blackhead she had left behind just a few weeks earlier. There were flowers everywhere, filling every space between the limestone pavements. It was like 1,000 tiny rainbows glittering in a grey sky. Gentians, orchids, and birds with trefoil, mountain avens, milkwort, and bloody cranesbill. Sarah was mesmerised until a familiar sound caught her attention. "Cuckoo! Cuckoo!" It was Colin. "Isn't this the most magical place you've ever seen?" asked Colin when he saw Sarah approaching. Sarah was still in a state of shock. "But how?" she whispered, looking all around her. And that's when Colin suddenly flew off, and another familiar figure appeared. "Ah, there you are, little one." It was Sarah's farmer. He had noticed that she was missing, and had been searching all over for her. As he reached her, he paused and looked down across Blackhead. And then he smiled. Now, burn cows can't talk to the farmers, but there's many a burn farmer who will talk to their cows. "You know," he began, "if it wasn't for cows eating all the old grass during the winter, then none of these flowers would be here today. It's just a pity they never get a chance to see the burn when it looks like this. But that's our way of keeping it safe." Then he looked at Sarah and smiled again. "Now, let's get you back to the others." And off they set. The end.
Sorry, Shane, that was beautiful. That was really a lovely tale of the calf and the cuckoo. If you like the drawings that you saw in that book, you might like to come along to our online workshop tomorrow with Gordon Darcy. Gordon Darcy has spent so long in the Burren. He's a wildlife expert, and he's a master with the pencil and the colors. So he's going to lead a workshop on how to draw Burren animals, and you can register for it here. I'll send a link in the chat if you want. It's at 6:30 tomorrow, and you can get your paper and colors and pencils ready for that. But Shane, that was really nice. This book is also dyslexia friendly. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
It is like my other books. We produced this to be accessible for as many kids and readers as possible. So the dyslexia element of it is linked to the color scheme, first of all, to avoid black text on a white background because it can be very hard on the eyes. So you'll notice cream on blue. It's a special dyslexia font called Open Dyslexia. You have noticed the way it's a little bit thicker on the bottom. And then the design and layout of the text. So avoiding things like a single space after a full stop, because that can create white lightning or white rivers, and putting it left line rather than justifying it, so it's not a block of text. So there's little features, but they make a huge difference for anyone with dyslexia or similar official requirements. But it has a huge benefit for all kids and indeed parents and grandparents. I know I've been reading it quite a lot in the last few days to my little 2.5-year-old, and it's been reading it 7 or 8 times a day. You can't put it down at the moment, which is great. It's my biggest fan so far anyway. But you mentioned the artwork.
Beautiful book.
You mentioned the artwork, and I have to say that Gordon Darcy did an incredible job. I simply gave him the story, and I let him off with it, because Gordon has been working here in the Burren for many years, longer as long as I've been around in the Burren, I'd say. But the artwork is incredible, and it really brings the story to life, and I'm actually delighted with it.
I was just trying to screen share the cover of the book. It's so beautiful. Is it appearing?
We should probably mention as well, sorry Branjali, Shane has a dream of Shane has a dream of every school around the Burren and the area outside of the Burren, all the pupils having a copy of his book. So we have a doctor in Lahinch is sponsored 4 of the local schools around Lahinch. So do spread the word. If you know anyone who might want to sponsor their local school, then it would be absolutely beautiful for all the children in the area around here to definitely have their own copy of the book.
Absolutely. I've seen firsthand the work that the Burren Bureau Trust and yourself, Kate and Branjali, do when it comes to going to schools and raising awareness and education of the Burren and the various features, from the geology, the archaeology, the flowers, the farming. And I hope that this book will be an asset to carrying out that work, and I'd absolutely love that every child in the Burren would have a copy of it. It's as much as their story as it is mine. Like the story is about farmers in the Burren. I'm part of that community, and the kids in all the schools around the Burren are part of that family too. So hopefully it becomes part of their story.
And yeah, Shane, we haven't. Oh, sorry, Pam.
Oh no, I was just thinking.
For Shane.
I just love that line. Now, Burren cows can't talk to their farmers, but there's many a Burren farmer who will talk to their cows. I just love the little addition. Do you talk to your cows, Shane? Sometimes.
Yeah, I think I'd probably do occasionally. It's important to remember a cow can be with a farmer for 10, 12 years or maybe more. So a farmer will talk to the cows the same as you might talk to a pet dog, and it's always important to be kind to your animals, and you spend so much time with them that occasionally you don't have full-blown conversations or anything like that, but you do occasionally talk to them. And I see it particularly at home in Fenor, my own brothers and my father before them. If ever a neighbour has a cow calving and they need help, they get called, and in that kind of tender moments, you'll very often hear the farmer giving words of encouragement to their cows, and it's a lovely thing to hear, because it's just a sign of a farmer who's take great care of their their animals, and like right across the burn and further afield, farmers are very kind and caring of their animals, and it's a very important thing to do.
Shane, there are 2 questions here for you. Have we time for them, Pranjali?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, of course we have 5 more minutes. Yeah.
The first one, they're both anonymous attendees, Shane. So first of all, Shane, do you think that when Sarah gets older, she will take her own calf up to the Wintrage too?
I think she will probably have to be honest with you. She certainly have a good story to tell, but whether her own calf bleeds or not, I think that might be a book in the future, maybe.
Part 2.
We'll be looking forward to that. Yes. And then the second question says, can you please tell us about going up to the Wintrage?
Absolutely. It's not easy or straightforward. Where we're bringing the cows on Sunday, cattle on Sunday, there's no road up to it. It's crossing quite a lot of limestone pavements, and in some parts there's a very narrow paths through rough crag, and you have to go single file with the cows and take it very, very easy. Where we're going on Sunday, it takes about half an hour. If you didn't have cows in front of you, it probably takes an hour and a half with cows. It's a steep climb. Once you get up there, you have to we need to check the walls, because there's a big field, about 200 acres, and a lot of wall around to make sure that it's still stock proof. You have to go and check and see if there's water for the animals, because obviously that can run dry or freeze over. Check there's enough grazing for the animals to stay up there for a while longer. And then you get to check the cows once you find them, because like I say, it's a fairly big field and they can hide fairly well in it. So you have to firstly climb up the side of a mountain, then find the animals, and then check all the other features around it. And like I'm relatively young and able-bodied. There's a lot of foreign farmers that are have been doing it for an awful lot longer than I have at home. But they're still going up there with, and fair play to them. It's not an easy thing to do, but it's a huge benefit to the conservation of the Burren, and those farmers are incredible.
That just sounds, you've really painted a picture there for us, Shane. There's one last question. How are we doing on time, Pranjali?
Yeah, what last question's good?
Oh, fabulous. There's Reese, age 6, wants to ask you, how long did it take you to write the book?
It's a story that I've been trying to write for a long time, and I normally carry around a copybook and a pen with me. I encourage any young writer to do the same thing, because you never know when it can actually hit you. And as it happens, it was a March night. I was up late watching cows to calf, so I was heading out the back door at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, I think it was, and something came to me, and I came back in the back door to write it down, and back out and back in maybe 6 or 7 times. I had been trying for quite a long time to write it, and it just wasn't clicking, because my other stories maybe take 6 months to a year to write, but like I said, they're my own creation. But this story, because it was about growing up at home in Finoran and the Burren, I kind of hope that it represents my own family and the Burren farmers correctly. Sometimes my biggest critics are the children, but in this case it might well be other Burren farmers. But it took me probably about a year or year and a half to write, just to get it right. I was very conscious of accurately representing the place where I come from and the people that I come from. So that's very important to me.
And Shane, I know you mentioned earlier when you were chatting before the webinar that there are experiences that you have growing up in a farming household in the Burren that maybe other people will never have unless they have that connection to the farm. You know, there's certain smells or scent or touches, or can you describe a couple of them?
I can. The one that is probably most vivid, most people will be familiar with the smell of fresh cut grass during the summertime, but for a farmer who takes that grass and turns it into hay, and the following spring, March or April, when they open up that bale of hay, you can still get that waft of fresh smell coming out of the bale, particularly good hay. And that was the experience for Sarah sniffing hay for the very first time. That comes from my own experience of doing it Like I say, we've a mixture of animals, including horses, and they're very fussy, so they're like a really good bale. So we very often have to go up to the hay shed and find the one that smells nice. And the way you do it is you pull a piece of hay from the center of the bale and kind of hold it up your nose and give it a smell. And I normally held it a bit too close and ended up with a nose full of dust and started sneezing. So it was a very similar to experience that Sarah has in the story as well. Similarly, going out at night time to check cows, you're hoping for a mild March night because it's dry, it's clean, the animals are happier in it. But at some nights at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, you're the only one out in the burn, apart from maybe another burn farmer on the other side of the burn. And when you have a full moon and stars, you can see the reflection in the limestone pavements, and you turn off your flashlight and just carry on. And it's an incredible experience to be out there almost on your own in the middle of the night, and all you have for company are the cows, and it's lovely. But that was my experiences growing up.
I think you've encouraged many young people today to want to become farmers if they are not already. That's yeah, that was beautiful. So that brings it nicely to a close. It's a very nice point to end on. Shane, thank you very much. That was really a pleasure. And once again, if you're interested in ordering the book, it's on our online shop in burrenbo.com. So we are here to post the orders for you if you want to order them. So I'm going to now hand over to Kate. Kate is going to run. She's a resident quiz master.
I hope she's not got your hopes up too much now. Thanks, Frangeli. Yeah. I will just see if I can screen share with you now. For the quiz, guys, all those people who've hung in there, well done. This is a hard quiz. I'm going to say that right from the beginning. So we start easy and it just gets harder and harder as we go. So you're all going to need a pen and a piece of paper. That's to start with. So make sure you have a pen and a piece of paper. Quiz rules, we don't know if you're looking up the answers or not because we can't see you. So we're trusting you to give it your best go and keep your own scores. The first round is all based upon information and pictures and things that Brendan Dunford put together and Prangeli put up as Burren BO Facebook posts. So if you saw the posts, you should have a bit of a head start on everyone else. If you didn't, sure, it's multiple choice, you're all in with a chance. So thanks to Brendan for photos and information. Prangeli, thank you for proofreading for me. You were brilliant. So there will be no prize for top marks, but don't get discouraged because we have prizes for other things. So the best team name, you need to have a team name, make it a Wintrage team name if you can. Definitely a Burren kind of name, and there will be a prize at the end of a free copy of Shane's book. So you can have your own copy, and if we talk nicely to Shane, maybe he'll sign it for you too. And what else was I going to say? So no prize for top marks, and in round 2 there will be a spot prize as well for one of the things I'm going to ask you to do. So as we're going along, do keep in touch with us on chat so we know how you're doing. I actually can't see chat. I'm assuming that Prangeli can, so Prangeli might keep me filled in with
yes, no, I can see the chat, yeah. And the Q&A.
I don't know why I've completely lost all of that. So Prangeli,
yeah, when you're screen sharing, I think you lose some of the controls. It's difficult to do everything.
I think you do, which is no problem at all. But if there's any problems, or I'm going too fast, or I'm going too slow, keep in touch on chat. Keep in touch with all the other participants as well. So make it as if we're all in one room together, even though we're not. So I'm not going to talk to you anymore about introductions or things like that. We will go straight into round 1, and round 1 is going to be the photograph competition. So we're going to have 3 rounds, and this first round, all you need to do for recording your answers is just do 1 to 10. There'll be 10 questions, and the answers are going to be either A, B or C. So it makes very little writing down for you. So question number 1, the Burren is full of beautiful stone walls, but how long ago did the Burren farmers start to build them? So was it since before the last ice age? The ice melted about 12,000 years ago. So, or was it during the Mesolithic period, which was around about 6,000 years ago, or was it more recently during earlier Christian times? So about 1,600 years ago. So all you need to do is pick A, B or C. No cheating and looking it up. I'm trusting you all. We'll move on to question 2. Do chat and tell us if we're going too quickly for you or too slow. So question number 2, this tiny little gap in the wall was built there by the farmer because he wanted to save stone. He wanted to let his dogs run between the fields for rounding up cattle or sheep, or to let the sheep run between the fields, but not the cows. So which do we think, A, B, or C? A tricky one, that one is. We'll move to question 3, if we're all happy enough. Pranjali's not shouting at me yet, so that means you all must be okay. So question number 3, you might have noticed things like this in the 2 pictures to the left, all across the Burren. What do you think they've been put there for? What are they doing there? So are they A, rainwater collectors, B, are they fish ponds, or C, have they been set up to help the newts breed up in the Burren? So A, B, or C, what are these structures for? We'll move on to question 4. So question 4, look closely at the picture. This lovely bit of dry stone wall looks a little bit strange. Why was it built like this? Was it A, because the farmer was too lazy to finish the field walls? Does the shape make it easier to round up and catch the cows when you need to be bringing them back up or down from the fields? Or is it for the cows sheltering from the wind, a bit like a bus stop to keep you out of the weather? So is it A, or is it B, or is it C? Hopefully you're all doing okay. Pranjali, no one's complaining?
Not yet, Kate, not yet. It's going brilliantly.
I think we're doing all right. Okay, thank you. We'll move on to question number 5. So this picture, it isn't just a mound of stones in the middle of nowhere. Originally, this would have been a small hut, but what would they have built it for? So was it for people camping out when they were looking after the livestock, the sheep and the cows? Was it a baby goat house? Was it then for the children to play in? So what do you think it was? Was it A, B, or C? Hopefully you've decided quickly. We'll move on to question 6. So this stone structure, you might see them in the Burren in lots of different places. This was used by farmers to dry fuel for burning. So what fuel do you think the farmers were drying in it? Was it soil, was it hazel sticks, or was it cow poo? So was it A, was it B, or was it C? We'll move on to question number 7. So question 7, this strange looking tool was really important to Burren farmers, but what did they use it for? Was it a nose picker? Was it B, a bar for getting stones out of the ground? Or was it C, for harvesting hazel? So what was this strange tool used for, A, B, or C? We'll move on to question number 8. So this beautiful Burren cow is great at living on the rough terrain of the Burren. If you were listening to Shane's story, you should know what kind of cow it was. Is it A, a long horn, B, a curly horn, or C, a short horn? So question 8, is it A, B, or C? Did you listen to Shane's book? We'll move on to question number 9. So these beautiful little roads that run through the Burren, there's lots of different types of them today, and traditionally they were used for moving around the cattle. So is this called A, a cow track, B, a green road, or C, a byway? Which do we think? Cow track, green road, or a byway? We're getting very quick through them. We're on to the last question of round number 1. Hopefully you're all doing well and there's no big arguments about the questions. So question number 10, this is the last question in our photograph round. The Burren is full of these small, often abandoned cottages in the middle of nowhere. The people that used to live in them would have looked after livestock of other people kept in the Burren. Were these people called cow keepers, B, herdsmen, or C, animal minders? So do we think they were called cow keepers, herdsmen, or animal minders? What do we think? That is the end of round number 1. Hopefully it wasn't too difficult for you. That was the easy round now. They're only going to get harder. So add up your scores after we've gone through them and let's see how well you've done. So we'll start by going through the answers. Are you ready for them? So question number one, how long ago were these dry stone walls built in the Burren? They were built during the Neolithic period. These were the first farmers to come into the Burren about 6,000 years ago. So some of the walls in the Burren could be older than the pyramids in Egypt, which is amazing. But it's a really common structure in the Burren, this dry stone wall. And a friend of mine now, out walking during the first lockdown, was lucky enough to hear a dry stone wall singing on a windy day. So as she went past and the wind was blowing through the stones, it was singing, the noise it was making as the wind blew through. So next time you're in the Burren on a windy day, stop and see if you can hear a wall singing. Question number two. So what was the tiny gap for? The tiny gap was to let sheep go between the fields, but not the cows. So locally they're known as sheep creeps. And these are special little gaps that were made. So they weren't built to save stone. They were actually a little bit tricky to build them, but they're really clever because just by filling them up with stones, you can close it like a gate. Okay, so without having to buy a gate, you can make up your own gate by just filling up the gaps with stone.
Sharon Parr was wondering if it was a leprechaun gate, Kate. You might be wrong there.
I'll have words with Sharon later. She's only arguing because she's not doing very well.
No.
So question number three. Question number three, what are these peculiar structures you find on the Burren landscape? They are rainwater collectors. So you might not believe it, that with all the rain we get on so many different days, the Burren can get too dry to put animals up there. So farmers came with this really clever way of collecting up the rainwater and having big troughs for their animals to drink. Some of the troughs, you do get newts in them. So up near the perfumery, there's a lovely rainwater tank. And if you go up there March, April time, you will find it full of newts. Amazing to go and have a look. Can you work out how it works? So if you have a look, there's always a slope going down into the trough. So the rainwater, when it lands on the concrete, it all runs into the stone water trough and keeps it filled up nicely. So even with all the rain that we get, if it lands on the ground, it sinks through the ground. But if it lands by the rainwater collectors, then the farmers can give it to their cattle. How are we doing? 3 questions. Hopefully you've got all 3 right so far. Question number 4. Why was the stone wall built like this? So sometimes they call them T-shaped walls. You can see why. And it's to give the cow shelter from the wind, because you can see in the Burren there's not many trees for cows to hide behind, and cows are too big to hide behind the rocks. So when that wind is blowing, no matter what way it comes from, the cows can always find somewhere to shelter. So maybe Shane's calf Sarah is up there sheltering behind one of these T-shaped walls up in the Burren. Question 5. So this funny little mound of rocks, if you were walking past, you might not have even opened it, noticed that it's there. So what do you think it was used for? It was a baby goat house. So it's a house for kids. So these are part of a really big farming tradition in the Burren, where baby goats, the kids, were kept inside them. So to stop them getting eaten by predators, but also to stop the kids from eating any grass. Because if the kids only had their mother's milk, then their meat was meant to be sweeter and nicer to eat. So apparently in the Burren, a lot of children would make a little bit of extra pocket money by minding these kids and these goat crows and then taking them into market, to Ennis Market or Ennis Diamond, and sell them to get a little bit of extra pocket money. So it's actually a little house made for a baby goat. Question 6. Now, this was a trick question, and I wonder how many people I caught out on this one, because you could possibly get 2 marks for this. Fuel was soil and cow poo. So believe it or not, the people in the Burren used to burn cow poo for keeping themselves warm and for cooking. So if you look at the writing underneath, it was noted that the people of the Burren are literally cooking their food with dried ferns, heath, brambles, branches of hazel, but there wasn't much hazel. So people had to collect up these lumps of earth, and they had to collect big flat cow pats, and they'd stack them all inside these dry stone walls, put a few rocks on top, let them dry out, and then carry them back for firewood. So if you ever get caught short this winter, you can go and collect some cow poo from the Burren, and maybe that will keep you warm and dry. So if you picked A or C, you get an answer. And if you picked both, you get 2 marks for that answer. We'll go on to question 7. This funny looking tool, what was it used for? I can tell you straight away, it definitely was not a nose picker. So I really hope you didn't pick nose picker. It's a special tool for harvesting hazel. So hazel scallops, these were straight poles and they used to use them for thatching the cottage roofs. So the Burren, obviously there is hazel there, not tons of it when there was a lot of cattle, but there is some. So they were cut with these special blades, and this is a photograph from Kilfenora. And again, it was a nice way of making a bit of pocket money. The children used to sell these bundles. So down in Ennistimon Fair, farmers remember selling these bundles of hazel rods. So hopefully you all got that one right and nobody picked nose picker. Question 8, were you listening to Shane's story? Question 8, the answer is the shorthorn cow. So these cows are really good for meat and milk, and they'd have loved having them in the Burren because they calve really easily. You don't have to get the vet out all the time. So back in the 1960s, goodness, you're looking at 60 years ago, nearly all the cows in the Burren were shorthorn cows, but they're not so common anymore. They've got many different other types up there now. So Sarah, the shorthorn cow would have been very special, one of the main Burren types of cow. Question 9, we're nearly at the end of round 1. So what did we call this type of road? Is it a cow track, greenway, byway? Hopefully you all picked the green road. So the green roads, they're usually greened over with grass and vegetation, but they were the main ways farmers would take their cattle to market and up to Wintrage and things. But often today it's really nice. A lot of them are kept open, so you can go walking across the Burren on these routes, especially around Blackhead, where Sarah was born. So you'll have to go to the Blackhead Green Road and you'll have to go and walk around there and see if you can see Sarah and her mum. Question 10, we're on the last question. Hopefully you've all got 9 out of 9 so far, or maybe 10 if you've got my trick question. What were the people called who were looking after the livestock in the Burren? They were the herdsmen. So hopefully you all got that one right. So usually they managed livestock of other farmers who would have farmed somewhere else but had winterage in the Burren. So instead of a wage, a herdsman got something called a freedom. So it meant he got the use of a house and a garden, and he could put cattle, horse, sheep and cows, sometimes even geese, up on the Burren. Even Michael Cusack, the founder of the GAA, he was thought to have been a herdsman's son. So a really important job up in the Burren, and you'll see these beautiful little cottages everywhere, all over. So add up your scores and put them into chat. Let's see how we've done. Has anybody managed to get 10 out of 10? Pranjali, how's it looking?
Waiting for messages. Oh, 8. Brophy.
Oh, very good.
Siobhan got 8.5. Sharon Parr 8.5. Oh, Sharon Parr got 10.
How did you
I
get
wonder why.
Yeah, Sharon, I don't believe you.
Edel Cooney 7. Tim O'Connell 9. Anna Doherty 9. Susan Graham 9 out of 10. 8. 6 Sarah. Yeah, not doing pretty well. I hope your next round is a bit tougher, Kate. It's might be too easy.
Tougher. That's it. I'm sorry, guys. I started out far too easy. The next round is
just before you go, Kate. A reminder: I haven't had many team name submissions. So if you have thought of a team name for your team, please send it to me in the chat box.
Oh, do definitely. If you want to win that free copy of Shane's book, then definitely get your team names in there, because you've only got next round on the one after to get your names in. So you need to get thinking and be creative now. So round 2 is tricky, and you're going to need a lot of teamwork because you're going to be under time pressure for round 2. So round 2, I will show it to you now. It's anagrams and inspiration. Sharon, I'm expecting amazing things because you know a lot about farming, but the rest of you guys impress me now. So you have got 10 anagrams. You need to work out what those words are. But the round doesn't end there. As soon as you've got all 10 anagrams, you need to write a Wintrage limerick, a little short poem. I wrote one already, but mine is really rubbish, so you can do better. Mine is, there once was a farmer from Newquay whose cattle liked to roam very free. For the whole winter long on Burren hills they did throng, and did not need to come home for their tea. So you have got 5 minutes to work out all of the 10 words and then write that limerick. So maybe do a bit of teamwork. Some people work out the words, some people start on their limerick. Let's see how you get on. I'm going to time you for 5 minutes and then I will come back in and see how you are doing. And if you want more time, we can give you more time, or if you're all done, then that's even better. But when you've written those limericks, get them up there into that chat box, because Pranjali is going to pick the best limerick and they're going to get a spot prize. It says the Burren set of field guides. We'll give you a choice. You can have either a set of field guides or you can have one of Shane's books as your spot prize. So I'm not going to talk anymore for 5 minutes. I'm timing you from now. So we've had a little bit in the chat box about it is a tricky round and it is a really hard round. All of the words that the anagrams are for, they're all about Wintrage and the Burren, if that helps at all. And if you need a little bit of help a bit further on, I can give you the first letter of each word, if I can remember what they are, without me seeing the answers. Now you're 3 minutes in. I hope you're all doing really well. The words are quite difficult. Put up in the chat if you want any clues or if you need a bit more time. As soon as you've got your limerick written, definitely get it up there as well. Let's see what kind of limericks you can come up with. So I've put up some clues in chat, and I can see Tim O'Connell is starting to get his limerick up there already. If you guys, I'm putting up what I can in chat, but the answers are on the next slide, and I actually can't see them. So I'm working out what I can with you as we go. Let's have a look at what other words. I'll see what other first letters I can put up for you. I'm liking it, Tim. That is coming. We've got a definite poet out here. The farmer went to his cattle and found them all doing battle over the grazing, which was amazing, down in the Wintrage. I'm impressed. This is looking good. How are the goat farmers going on? Siobhan, are my starting letters helping you out there? This is a really, really tricky one. The next one is much, much easier. Oh, Geraldine, looking good. Now, it has been 5.5 minutes. We can go for a little bit longer. Need letters, only have 4 words. Siobhan, I am with you. Okay, question number 5. Number 5 starts with a C. Now, like I said, I'm going to have to think hard about some of this. Question 5 starts with a C. Oh, question 8 starts with an M. Number 10. Oh, number 10 is 2 words, and the first one starts with W, and the second one starts with F. Geraldine, let's see how yours is working out here. There once was a farmer who took his cattle grazing to the Burren uplands. He'd helped from his family's hands, passing many wildflowers on the way. I'm liking this. There's some very, very creative things coming out here. Siobhan, have you got anywhere further with number 10? 2 words, and the first word is wild. That might help you a little bit more. How's everyone else doing? It's nearly 7 minutes now. Do you want a little bit longer? Oh, you want number 9. You'll have to give me a minute from number 9. Has anyone got the first letter for number 9? If you want to put it up in chat, then please do. It's beginning here. There once was a farmer called Shane whose cattle went to the uplands. Anyone have the beginning letter for number 9? I'm still trying to work out what word that was. I did write this quite a while ago. There once was a young farmer from Clare, from Anna. Adele says grazing cattle farmer. Oh, 2, 4 or 7, says Siobhan. So I can give you a clue, Siobhan, for number 2. It's very hard. You find lots of it in the Burren, and it begins with the letter L. Question number 4. What did I think number 4 was? 2 words. And number 7, had I got as far as 7? Looking very good there. Breed in meadows of beautiful wildflowers, a tradition as old as limestone. Number 9 starts with a T. Siobhan, you've got number 2. Brilliant. Well done. Number 9 starts with a T, and it's something that you just keep on doing. How are the rest of you guys doing? Do you want me to still hold off before we do the answers? Oh, and number 7. You wanted 7, Siobhan. It begins with a U, and it tends to be high up. Geraldine says line 5. I'm not too sure what you mean by line 5. Are you stuck on line 5, Geraldine, which begins with a C? Oh, nice. Anna, who looked after his cattle with care up the mountain, he sent them. So winter was good for him, and in the spring they were fit for the fair. Very good. You guys are really good at this. Apart from the words being really hard to work out, the poems are brilliant. I've got you now, Adele. So Question 6, yet begins with the F. Is happening, but I hope you're paying attention to this, Frangeli, because you have to pick the best poem. Poems can be put onto chat at any point as we go on through round 3 as well, so they don't have to come up straight away. And Siobhan, we've got There Was a Farmer from Clare. Geraldine says, can't see original clues to finish this off. They do get lost up in the chat, don't they? I think if we say maybe 2 more minutes and then we'll have to move on to the next round. All of you guys, you are doing really well. I told you they were only going to get harder. So if you found number 1 easy, yeah, I got really mean on this one. There was a farmer from Clare who gave his cattle great care. These are lovely. Passing many wild flowers on the limestone. Geraldine, these are getting very poetic. Read among the stone walls, they are grazing with water from watering holes. These are really nice. Frangeli, there's a lot going on in chat. I'm counting on you to find your favourite poem in there. How are we doing? 1 more minute left now, 1 more minute. And if you can't figure out the rest of the words, don't worry about it. Just try and get your limerick, your poem finished. On the uplands they went. Oh, Fiona, that is impressive. Team at Wild Atlantic Farmer Mayo. Cows on the Burren don't mind weathering, limestone all around them. Grazing is amazing, stone wall to lie. Cattle all around them. Farmers busy in summer, catching green. Traditions are carried out on wildflowers, offer getting married for people in County Clare. These are lovely. Frangeli, you are going to have a big job on there now. I'm very impressed with all of this. I'm going to say 30 seconds more and then I'll show you the answers. And like I said, your poems, you can be working on them as we go. And if you want to put them in the chat, kind of getting up towards the end, or would even the question button might work if you find that you're getting lost with where you're up to with your poems. Siobhan, you're doing a great job getting all the words in there. And the last 5 seconds, sorry lads, but we're going to have to move on. I didn't think you'd get quite so absorbed in it. Yeah, phew, Fiona. We've got to the end. And on the limestone they fed. Guys, these are impressive. Frangeli, you're in charge of chat now and looking at the poems. I hope you don't mind. Here are the answers because you guys have just done so well. If mine will let me do the answers. Here we go. Your poems, by the way, lads, far better than mine. Mine was pretty desperate now, so really, really well done. Here are all the answers, and they always look dead easy when you can see them there in front of you. So out of 10, how many did you get? So you've got 1 was Wintrage, so our earwig net was Wintrage, 2 was limestone, 3 was grazing, 4 stone wall, I can see it now, 5 was cattle, 6 was farmer, 7 uplands, 8 was meadow, 9 tradition, and 10 wildflowers. Did anybody get 10 out of 10 there? Because if you did, I am very impressed because that was really, really hard. So did anybody manage to get 10 out of 10? And keep on putting those poems up there. Don't forget as well, this is a very busy quiz because you've got poems, you've got team names, and there's prizes for both of these things. So definitely get your poems and get your team names up there. Let's see what kind of scores we're getting. 8, 9. Siobhan, well done. So, not with a lot of help. You're grand. Everyone else was helping too. Susan, well done with 9. 8 from Aisling. This was hard. So I'm seriously impressed because even I couldn't get them all and I'm the one that wrote them. 8 out of 10. Really, really good. Well done. We're running out of time, so I am going to push us on to round number 3 if I can get it to move on. So lovely. I hope your scores are doing very well. Number 3 now, when I say it's the trickiest, it depends how you look at it. So we'll have a look at round number 3. Round number 3 is actually a really special round because when I got all the information for round number 3, I went onto a website called docast.ie. And this was a project in the 1930s. Schools all around Ireland sent their students out to go and collect traditions and stories and limericks and cures and all different kinds of things. And then they recorded them all, and they're all up online so you can see them. So I looked at all the old farming traditions from around the Burren, and this is what round number 3 is based on. So don't blame me for the answers on this one. This was from the children of the Burren in the 1930s. So old traditions. This is a big one. So it's not going to be, it's only 5 questions, this one, because there's a lot of choices. So before the radio, television and internet, farmers used to get their weather forecasts from the signs in nature around them. Which of the following do you think traditionally signalled a storm was coming? And for this, you can pick more than one. So if you pick all 5, don't negative mark yourself, but don't pick all 5 because it's not all 5. But for each one you get right, you will get a point, okay? So I'm not going to tell you how many of them are correct, but it is more than one. So do you think, is it A, swallows flying high, mean a storm is coming? C, the cat sits with her back to the fire. Cats are very clever. C, rocks glistening on the mountainside. So A, swallows, B, cat, C, rocks, D, a rainbow in the morning, or E, the sheep coming home from the mountains. So which of those do you think might have made people think, made the farmers know that a storm was going to come in? This is quite a hard one, isn't it, really? So think about it and make sure you have more than one answer, because definitely more than one of those is right. We'll move on to question number 2, because it's getting past my bedtime nearly. So before the radio and television and internet, this is the farmers again. Which of the following do you think traditionally signalled good weather was coming? So this isn't the storms now, this is the good weather. So did A, the mountains look far away if the nice weather was coming? B, the floor and walls of your house are wet? C, a mist comes on the valley? D, a ring around the moon? And E, swallows flying low. More than one of those is correct, so pick a few if you think a few are correct. So this is all the old traditions of looking at the signs in the landscape around you. Nowadays, we just look on the phone and see what the weatherman says. Okay, I'm going to move on now. Hopefully you're not arguing too much over the answers. And question number 3. If you got ill, there wasn't always a doctor to help you out. So people came up with their own cures. Can you match the cure to the illness? So for example, part number 1 of question 3, bleeding cuts. Do you think it was donkey's milk, bread poultice, rub a frog on it, cobwebs, or hang a stocking of hot bran around your neck? So for each of those 1 to 5 as question 3, make sure you put down if you think it's A to E. Okay, I'll give you a little bit of time for this one because I can imagine there's going to be a little bit of discussion going on now as to which matches which. Sharon, your poem about the bear is stunning. I don't think the word bear or ailwee was actually in there, but don't worry. How are we all getting on now? Have we all picked which ones we think it all belongs to? Oh, go back. That wasn't meant to happen. Sorry there, lads. Oh, Anna, you know the cobwebs already. Now, I've never heard of anyone doing that before. Did it work? So we'll give you 30 seconds more, maybe. Maybe you don't need it. Maybe you've worked them all out already. And yes, it did work, Anna. Brilliant. Just maybe make sure the spider isn't still on the web before you use it, or you could get an unpleasant surprise. Okay, we're going to move on. If it will let me now. Oh, this is a hard one. So you'll need a bit of time. I forgot how long some of these took. These are old proverbs that came from the DCAS website. See if you can unjumble the words for them and work out what the actual proverb is. So I will have to give you a little bit of time for this. How are you doing, Pranjali, with judging the poetry and their team names? Are they looking good?
Oh yeah, struggling.
So you get the way harder
Yes,
job. I
I
get dead
do. I
easy.
do. This is a much harder job.
So I must say, I'm glad I'm not answering these questions.
I'm
because
just
they are
looking at
definitely-
time, Kate. We are running quite a lot over the time, so we need to wrap up soon.
We will do. I'll give you guys, I know this isn't very fair, I will give you 1 more minute for unjumbling the old proverbs and do the best you can. And after 1 minute, we'll move on. I think, is there one more question? I tell you, it's definitely past my bedtime. Right. Yes, there's 1 more question and then we're done just with the answers. So 30 seconds to try and get the last of those proverbs. This is way harder than the last quiz that I did. I do apologise. I'm very sorry. 20 seconds left. I'd actually be quite interested to see what people come up with for these proverbs too. Some of them are very odd. Right, we're moving on to the last question. So this one is actually quite easy for the last question. There were lots of old traditions about marriage in the Burren. Can you fill in the correct days of the week in the jumbled up poem below to find out which were the best days to get married on? So all you need to do for question number 5 is A to F and then write Monday to Saturday. Sunday is not included in the rhyme. So which day was the worst day to get married on for losses? Which day was for health? Which day was no good at all? Which one was a good day for wealth? Which was the best day of all? And which was the one for crosses? So all you need to do, go quickly. You've got 30 seconds. You're picking A to F, Monday to Saturday. And hopefully I'm not going to make too many of you late for bed. So Monday to Saturday, which were the best days to get married on? Okay, we're going to say time up because we definitely have to get a move on. So hopefully there wasn't too much arguing and we'll move on to the old tradition answers. Are we ready? So, which were the signs of bad coming? It was all of them apart from swallows flying high. I told you the cat was very clever. So you get a mark for each correct one you get. So you could have potentially up to 4 marks for question number 1. So if you had B, C, D or E, you definitely get a mark for those. I'm going to run on to question number 2. So which was the one for good weather? And it was the first 3. So if you had A, B or C, then you get a point for each one of those that you have. So potentially you could have 3 points for question number 2. We'll run on to question number 3, the cures. I am dying to know if anyone gets 5 out of 5. Bleeding cuts was the cobwebs. Look out for spiders. The sore fingers was a bread poultice. So heat up a bit of bread and stick it on. Might work. The sore throat, hang a stocking of hot bran around your neck. Sure, if it didn't work, you'd have a warm neck. Toothache, rub a frog on it. So lads, don't get toothache because I really don't want to rub a frog on it and the frog doesn't want to go on your tooth, which means measles you had to drink donkey's milk for. So I wonder how many of you managed to get 5 out of 5. Definitely, I do not recommend these cures. The cobwebs might work, but definitely don't try the frog. The old proverbs, the first one, you get a mark for every proverb you get. Oh, well done, Aisling, 5 out of 5. And we had Fiona, 5 out of 5. I am well impressed. Hope you don't use the frog up there in Mayo, Fiona. Anyway, the whole proverbs, we'll move on. So if you get this one right, you get a point. Well done, Bree, 5 out of 5. So the first one, if you go to the court, leave your soul at home. B, a good beginning is half the work. C, do not show your teeth until you can bite. D, hills are green far away. And E, age is honourable and youth is valuable. So a mark for each of those that you get right. Well, I'm generous. If you get them mostly right, give yourself a mark anyway. Question number 5. These were the days of the week to get married on. So A, Thursday for losses. B, Monday for health. Saturday is no good at all. Tuesday for wealth. Wednesday the best day of all. And Friday for crosses. So there's the old traditional poem. I think it wasn't just used for weddings. I think it was used for kind of general things as well. So Monday for health, Tuesday for wealth, Wednesday the best day of all, Thursday for losses, Friday for crosses, Saturday. No good at all. So add up your scores. It's out of a 23 was the maximum you could get on round 3. It was a bit of an odd one. Tim, 10 in total. Oh, Tim, never mind, but nice try. It was a tricky one. Blame it on those children and their traditions. So add up your scores, get your team names in there into chat. Pranjali, how are we doing with the poems?
Hello there. We are going to definitely have to wrap up because you have the next webinar coming up soon, Kate. So that was fascinating. I'm going to say a big thank you to everyone who submitted the limericks. Tim, Breed, Anna Doherty, Edel, Geraldine, Fiona, Hazel, Sharon. Fantastic limericks. It was hard to choose one. And I'm going to think, instead of giving prizes for team names, because I don't think we have had that many team names, I think we should just give prizes for the limerick. And maybe I'm going to just choose 3 people for today. And that is Tim O'Connell, Anna Doherty, and Fiona Murphy. So thank you very much for sending in the limericks. If you send us an email at info@burrenbo.com with your postal address and tell us which of the 2 you would like for a prize, the field guides or Shane's book, and we will get it posted to you. And thank you very much again for taking part today in the book reading and the quiz.